Well, a new outcry calling attention to the ongoing persecution of Christians in Egypt. We've been tracking reports for months about the targeting of Christian churches, businesses, and individuals there. Now Amnesty International is calling for an end to the violence and demanding that Egyptian president and leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, Mohamed Morsi, step up and take action to protect the Christians living in Egypt. They're called Coptic Christians. They make up the largest religious minority group in that country. Joining me now to discuss it, Ralph Peters. He's author of the book Hell or Richmond and also a Fox News strategic analyst. And Judith Miller is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter, author, and Fox News contributor, and she has just returned from a trip to Egypt. She got back on Friday. So thank you both so much for being here. Now, I want to start with this, because this made the wires yesterday, but we were not able to independently confirm this reporting by quote, Mideast Christian News that claimed that Islamic hardliners had stormed a mosque in suburban Cairo and turned it into a torture chamber for Christians. Judy, we just can't confirm whether that is true or it's not true, but what we do know is true is that there's a history in this country, in Egypt, of anti-Christian sentiment, and so far, Mohamed Morsi, who's supposed to be, the head of a new era in Egypt, has done very little to stop it.
Absolutely, Megan. I can't confirm that individual report either. I think the thing to keep in mind is that Christians are particularly vulnerable to the overall situation in Cairo, which is one of enormous instability. The problem for President Morsi is that his police won't turn out, no one will provide security, and therefore the most vulnerable groups, such as Christians and women who are unaccompanied, are particularly subject to violence and vigilante attacks. So yes, Christians are taking the brunt of the general insecurity, but the real problem for Egypt right now is a lack of security. That is what what Amnesty International is pointing to, Ralph. They're saying that tensions are back on the rise again. I mean, it's never been great for Christians in Egypt, but they're saying tensions are back on the rise again. And they're saying that in this one district where there was a question about whether a Muslim woman who was being hidden by Christians, maybe she wanted to convert, and all these people were shouting, "Let the Christians die from fear, today your sister, tomorrow your wife," and so on. And businesses were shut down, Christian businesses and so on. All these folks who wanted to go and complain and say that this is, why are we having to live this way? These Christians were told, don't complain, we're not even going to write down your report, said the police, and told the complaints will only serve to ignite the tensions further, you better just learn to deal with it.
Well, certainly Christians are being driven out all across the Middle East. It's not just Egypt. In Iraq, while the world looked away, 2/3 of the 1.5 million Christians were driven out. They're going to be persecuted in Syria. They've been driven out of the Palestinian territories. And now you see it in Egypt. And I'm sure Judy Miller, who's one of our great journalists, when she was in Cairo, went to the Coptic Quarter, where the Christians live. It's a shabby slum. They were always third class, not second class, third class citizens. And I'll just tell you this, Megan, if the Muslim Brotherhood, the most powerful force after the military in today's Egypt, wanted to crack down on the persecution of Christians, they could do it. But they're letting the Salafists and other extremists do the dirty work for them, because their dream, too, is of religious cleansing, of a pure Islamic Middle East.
That we saw in 2011, the clashes that saw tanks literally running down Christians in the streets in Egypt. And here we are now, 2013, Judy, and you say the real fear, even today, is of the future. What will Mohamed Morsi do? What will the Muslim Brotherhood do if they continue to consolidate power in that country? Well, that's the real concern. And weirdly enough, Megan, all Egyptians that I spoke to are blaming the United States for, quote, supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. Many, many people, secular, women who have fought for rights, Christians, any kind of minority group is now concerned about what a perpetuation of the Muslim Brotherhood rule would mean for Egypt. Now, if there is another election, things are so bad now, and the Muslim Brotherhood has proven itself so incompetent to govern Egypt, that there's hope that this pathetic, secular, liberal opposition could get its act together and pose a real opposition to the Brotherhood. But so far, it hasn't happened. And so Egyptians are really worried that now we've
seen what the Brotherhood can do. We don't want them. Egyptians don't want them, but they don't know if they can get rid of them through elections. Right now, it's a terribly difficult situation.
And Ralph, having said that they would not seek the presidency, the Muslim Brotherhood, of course, did seek it and won it. And now Mohammed Morsi has said publicly Egypt can never be presided over by, forget a woman, but a non-Muslim. She could never, never, never. And he reaffirmed that to the New York Times in September 2012. Yes, and
Yet the Obama administration supports, by supporting Morsi, supports the Muslim Brotherhood. And I think, Megan, there are two problems here. One, as you and I have discussed in the past, the Obama administration is not really interested in foreign policy, it just wants quiet, wants stability, and really, they've listened to the voices here in our country saying the Muslim Brotherhood are good guys, and they're not.
Ralph, Judy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Megan.